The time has come, and I won't hold back. Last week's reading ended with these chilling words, as God announces through the prophet Ezekiel that he has finally run out of patience, and his judgment against Israel is coming soon. God promises to remove his presence from the temple in Jerusalem and allow the Babylonians to defile it. As a sign of this promise, God takes away Ezekiel's voice, telling him he will only be able to speak once Jerusalem is destroyed. Sure enough, a messenger arrives with news of Jerusalem's destruction, and Ezekiel is given back his voice. At this climactic moment in the book, Ezekiel's oracles shift from warning God's people of coming judgment to defending God's actions to a people shattered by his anger. Ezekiel speaks as God's lawyer, insisting that God was forced to judge Israel's idolatry and injustice to defend his holy reputation. But just like the books of Israel and Jeremiah, Ezekiel prophesies that this judgment is not the end of the story. God's plan is to redeem and restore his people by transforming their hearts to make them capable of following his laws. He also promises to send a new King David who will shepherd God's people into right relationship with him, and replace the bad shepherds of Israel's corrupt religious leaders. These promises culminate in a stunning vision of God breathing life into a valley of bones, which are transformed into living people with flesh and blood. This symbolic image shows the death of the exile, giving way to new and glorious life. But how can God's people live in peace and harmony if their enemies still surround them? Ezekiel's prophecies answer this question. He delivers a series of blistering judgments on the evil empires who oppressed God's people. In these oracles, the cosmic powers of evil are personified in the kings of these empires, such as the Pharaoh of Egypt and the king of Tyre. Their pride and great wealth are temporary. Ezekiel makes clear that the impending destruction of these kings and empires is part of God's victory over evil and death itself. The final part of Ezekiel is an extended and detailed vision of a new temple descending on earth, symbolizing the return of God's presence to his people. In Ezekiel's vision, a river flows out of this holy city into the Dead Sea Valley, turning it into a lush and living place. This prophecy is full of allusions to the story of Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis. Ezekiel's point is clear. This is a picture of a world that has been transformed into a new Eden, renewed by the very presence of God. Some readers of Ezekiel have made the mistake of interpreting his prophecies as a giant equation that, when solved, gives special knowledge of exactly how certain future events will take place. But Ezekiel's visions are not equations. They are highly symbolic word pictures that are trying to tell a bigger story about God's mercy and justice. This is how the New Testament writers interpreted Ezekiel. In the book of Revelation, many of Ezekiel's vivid prophecies are repurposed into the story of how Christ, the true Messiah and King, will defeat evil and death once and for all, and usher in the new heavens and earth, where God dwells with his people forever.